human civilization has solved some of the most complex mysteries in the known universe. We mapped the human genome. We landed a rover on Mars. We split the atom to harness the raw power of stars. We built an interconnected global network that allows us to transmit the entire sum of human knowledge across oceans in a fraction of a second. We have mastered the skies, conquered diseases that once wiped out empires, and designed complex algorithms that can predict the weather 3 weeks from now with terrifying precision. And yet, if a slightly attractive person walks up to you, makes direct eye contact for exactly 2.4 seconds, and says, "I like your shirt," your entire brain immediately suffers a catastrophic, unrecoverable system failure. In that single, agonizing millisecond, you are instantly trapped in the greatest psychological paradox known to mankind. Are they flirting with you, or are they just an incredibly polite person who doesn't actively hate your presence? Make the wrong guess in one direction, and you end up in a state of crippling social embarrassment that will haunt your thoughts every night at 2 in the morning for the next decade. You will lie awake staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment you winked back at a person who was actually just looking at the menu board behind your head. Make the wrong guess in the other direction, and you completely miss your window of opportunity, ensuring you grow old alone in a house filled with too many cats and a profound sense of regret. Today, we are going to fix your broken social radar. We have broken down the data, mapped out the cognitive biases, and built a foolproof matrix to answer the eternal question once and for all. But before we look at the first rule, I want to ask you a question. What is the most obvious hint someone has ever dropped that went completely over your head? Be completely honest down in the comments. Let's see who among us has the absolute worst situational awareness, because admitting you have a problem is the first step to recovery. To understand flirting, we first have to establish the baseline of human friendliness. This is the exact location where 90% of all self-proclaimed dating experts get completely tripped up. The core issue is that the physical indicators for "I think you" are a fascinating human being, and I am legally obligated or paid hourly to be nice to you look identical to the untrained eye. Let's look at a common case study that has claimed millions of victims. The service worker. If a barista smiles at you, laughs at your terrible, uninspired joke about Monday mornings, and writes a little smiley face on your coffee cup, she is not trying to find out your last name so she can marry you. She's trying to survive an 8-hour shift, her feet hurt, and her manager is watching her from the back room on a security camera. If your romantic strategy relies on misinterpreting corporate-mandated politeness, your data pool is fundamentally corrupted from the start. The exact same rule applies to flight attendants, flight instructors, waiters, gym receptionists, and anyone holding a clipboard. The human brain is hardwired for confirmation bias. When we desperately want someone to like us, our cognitive wiring takes completely neutral environmental data and processes it as a profound romantic overture. To beat the system, we have to look for anomalies. We have to map this out scientifically. Imagine a two-dimensional grid. We will call this the Social Ambiguity Matrix. On the horizontal x-axis, we have the level of politeness, ranging from total hostile indifference to extreme, bubbly friendliness. On the vertical y-axis, we have actual romantic intent, ranging from "please step away from me" to "I want to spend the rest of my life with you." The great tragedy of human interaction is that, for the average person, the line representing a polite person and the line representing a flirting person run completely parallel to one another. They never intersect. This means that a person who is highly energetic and naturally charismatic will score incredibly high on the politeness axis, looking exactly like someone who is wildly attracted to you. Meanwhile, an extremely introverted person who actually has a massive crush on you might score so low on the outward politeness axis, out of pure nervousness, that they look like they are actively planning your demise. This creates what psychologists call the circle of desperation. You spend your entire life trying to calculate the distance between these parallel lines, analyzing the exact cadence of a text message punctuation mark, trying to determine if a period means they are mad, an exclamation mark means they love you, or if 2 emojis in a row is an invitation to move in together. But why is our species cursed with this level of baseline confusion? Why didn't evolution give us a clear, unambiguous signal? like birds that grow bright blue feet or lizards that inflate a giant red sac under their necks when they want to mate. To understand this, we have to look at the error management theory. Thousands of years ago, your ancestors lived in small, tightly knit tribes. In that environment, social reputation was a matter of actual literal survival. If you misread a situation and made an aggressive romantic advance towards someone who was completely uninterested, you didn't just get ghosted. You faced immediate social ostracization, potential conflict with their family, or getting kicked out of the tribe entirely to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. Because of this, the human brain developed a deeply rooted defense mechanism. It decided that it is evolutionarily cheaper to mistakenly believe someone is just being friendly when they are actually flirting, rather than mistakenly believing someone is flirting when they are actually just being friendly. Your brain is actively sabotaging your modern social life, using 200,000 years of survival instinct. It forces you to default to assuming everyone is just being nice, because it thinks it is saving you from a saber-toothed tiger. You are not stupid. You are just an evolutionary masterpiece of awkward self-preservation. But since we live in the modern world and tigers are no longer a daily threat to our dating lives, we need to learn how to actively spot when someone is trying to override this evolutionary barrier. We need to analyze the actual anatomy of modern flirting, starting with the single most misunderstood variable: eye contact. Popular dating advice tells you that if someone looks at you, they like you. This is a dangerous oversimplification. Human eye contact generally falls into three distinct categories. First, there is the situational glance. This is when someone looks at you simply because you walked into the room, dropped your keys, or are wearing a shirt that is an aggressive shade of neon orange. This means nothing. Second, there is the creepy stare. This is when someone fixates on you without blinking, usually because they are completely lost in their own thoughts or are trying to remember if they turned off their stove before leaving the house. The only category that actually matters for our data matrix is the recurrent broken glance. This is when someone looks at you, immediately looks away the exact second you catch them looking, and then crucially looks back again 3 minutes later to see if you are still looking. This is a conscious loop. It means their brain is actively tracking your location in the room like a radar system. If you catch someone in a recurrent broken glance, loop more than 3 times in a single evening, the probability that they are just checking the time on the wall behind you drops to near zero. Next, let's talk about the concept of proximity. There is a common theory that if someone stands close to you, they are trying to signal attraction. However, we must control for environmental variables. If you are crammed inside a packed subway train during rush hour or standing in the middle of a concert venue, proximity is an environmental necessity, not an emotional choice. True proximity-based flirting only occurs when there is ample physical space available, yet the person consistently chooses to minimize the distance between your coordinates. If you are at a house party with 50 open square feet of space, and a person repeatedly maneuvers themselves to stand within arm's reach of you, they are actively establishing a localized perimeter. They are putting themselves in your orbit, waiting for you to use your brain to start a conversation. This brings us to the phenomenon of mirroring. Behavioral science shows that when humans are deeply engaged with someone they subconsciously respect or desire, they begin to mimic their physical posture. If you take a sip of your drink, they take a sip of theirs. If you lean your weight onto your left leg, they shift their weight to match. If you cross your arms, they cross theirs. The trap here is attempting to test this manually. If you start aggressively crossing and uncrossing your arms, scratching your nose, and tilting your head back and forth like a broken animatronic just to see if they copy you, you will not find out if they are flirting. You will only succeed in making yourself look like you are having a medical emergency, causing them to slowly back away while looking for security. Mirroring must be subtle, natural, and observed passively. We also have to analyze the text message ecosystem, which is the absolute wild west of modern miscommunication. In the digital world, the rules of human interaction are completely rewritten. For example, the timeline of a response is a heavily weaponized variable. If you text someone and they reply within 40 seconds every single time, you are either dealing with someone who is incredibly interested in you, or someone who has absolutely no hobbies, no job, and a severe addiction to screen time. Conversely, if someone takes exactly 3 hours and 45 minutes to reply to every single message, they are not busy. No one on Earth is too busy to look at their phone for 4 hours, unless they are a submarine captain or performing open-heart surgery. They are playing a calculated game of tactical delay, trying to project the illusion of a highly successful, active lifestyle so they don't appear overly desperate. The true digital sign of flirting isn't speed. It is conversational investment. If their replies match your paragraph length, ask open-ended questions, and actively try to prevent the conversation from dying, they are investing digital energy into you. If you send a well-crafted paragraph and receive a single word or a thumb-up emoji react in return, the Matrix has given you your answer. You are a conversational dead end. This leads us to the ultimate philosophical conclusion of the entire dilemma, a concept we can call Schrödinger's flirt. Inspired by the famous quantum mechanics thought experiment, this theory states that until you explicitly ask a person about their intentions, they exist in a simultaneous quantum state of both actively flirting with you and being completely disinterested at the same time. Both realities are perfectly true until you observe the final result. The problem with most people is that they prefer to leave the box closed forever. They would rather live in the comfortable, warm illusion of potential romance, analyzing parallel lines and broken glance loops for 6 months, rather than opening the box and risking the cold, harsh reality of a polite rejection. They protect their ego at the expense of progress. But a life lived entirely inside the box is just a slow, drawn-out process of wondering what could have been. You cannot map out human emotion with absolute 100% certainty using graphs, grids, or evolutionary history. At some point, the math ends, the software stops tracking, and you have to actually take a risk. So if you want to live with absolute, total certainty, your best option is to stay home, lock your door, and never interact with another human being for the rest of your natural life. But if you are willing to risk a little bit of temporary social awkwardness for the chance of finding something real, you have to open the box. If you have survived this psychological deep dive and feel targeted by these callouts, do your civic duty. Share your most devastating stories of completely misinterpreting a social situation in the comments below, so the rest of the community can feel slightly better about their own awkward lives. Stay self-aware, stop hitting on your local barista, and we will see you in the next sandbox.